Hi guys. So it's been 2 years and I disappeared. So let's talk about that. So as you all know, some of you might remember me, some might not. In case you don't remember me, and if you are someone that's looking for my older videos, I have put in the description box the playlist link to all my old videos for anyone wondering, where they went, so you guys can access them again. I've never been consistent with posting, and I've never had like a set schedule. I only I only post when I have something to say, and I think that that's something that I said for a very, very long time, and that I've maintained that. That has always been my vibe. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about briefly was how my life has done a 180 since when I posted 2 years ago. As you guys know, one of the bigger manifestations happened in my life, which was moving. I literally moved across country, and it was rough. There were a lot of things that were trying to block it from happening, discourage me, get in my head, make me feel like it couldn't or wasn't going to happen, and yet it did. And what I did not realize is that there were a lot of adjustments that were going to happen the following years once I moved, and there were a lot of adjustments. And I think when it comes to manifestation, and okay, I feel like a lot of the manifestation terminology these days has been very diluted and watered down. So I don't know. I don't really like using the dialogue as much anymore. Even the word abundance, I've heard that word so many times. If I hear it again, I might start tweaking. But with me having something that big of a blessing happen to me, it kind of brought out adjustments, like I said, adjustments that I needed to make, and realizing, and again, reminding myself that as nice as it is to manifest and sort of attract and obtain and have materialized all of these outside things, it's not necessarily going to change what's going on in here. And even though I haven't been posting, I've been observing loosely, watching the community as the years have passed, and I'm actually kind of happy to see such an emphasis on it just went out of my head, not self-conflict, you guys know what I'm trying to say, self-concept. And it kind of reminds me of how a few years ago, it's adjacent but not the same thing, how people started paying more attention to skincare over makeup, right? It's like, take care of your skin first, and then we can worry about makeup. Same thing with manifestation. Pay attention to the self-concept first, then we can get on manifesting the other things, all right? So it's kind of like that. And for me, that was the biggest thing that I think has transformed my life the past few years, was working on that self-concept. Now, I don't want to sound conceited when I say this, but I kind of was a little bit in the instance of feeling like, oh, well, my self-concept's already good. What are you talking about? My self-concept? What? No. And it's so funny, you would think that a teacher would take their own advice. Not saying I'm a teacher, but you think a doctor would take their own advice. And there's a saying, I guess, among doctors that I think another doctor is like your worst patient or something along those lines, because they know, but they don't do. It's like doctors that know smoking is bad, but they still smoke. It's kind of like that. That's their words, not mine, okay? And so even for me, I may have been posting content, talking about all these things with you guys, but was your girl following it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And I had a really, really big realization that kind of just snapped me into place and made me realize the problem is me. I'm the problem. I needed to start taking more accountability, and realizing that I made a lot of choices that I made on my own volition. I wasn't convinced or manipulated or anything like that. And because of that, I think when you are able to look at yourself and say, no, I did this. This was all me. Okay, Shaggy says it wasn't me. No, it was me, right? And realizing that it might hurt in the moment, like having to admit, oh yeah, I did something stupid, or I did something silly, or I got impatient waiting for something I said I wanted and I settled. being able to realize that about yourself and admit that about yourself, just makes it all the more easier for you to gain consciousness of the choices that you're making. Because think about this. Would you rather placate yourself and be like, oh, things just happen to me, oh well, and then you continue making the same mistake? Or would you rather sit down, have the hard conversation with yourself and be like, look, stop doing stupid things and lock in. Everything that just happened, it was your fault. You should have waited. Why did you settle, right? Whatever the situation is, when you're able to have those harder conversations with yourself, and discipline yourself in a way, it makes it easier for you to not make the same mistake again and pretty much attract what you actually want. One thing for me is I kept settling in tons of different aspects of my life, saying, oh, well, I want this, I want that. And then whatever would come along, I was just taking it. And then I'd be sitting there, why didn't it work out? Why am I unhappy? Because this isn't what you want. It doesn't match your heart's desire. You keep trying to put things that don't fit, that do not have the integrity to withstand or to be beside your heart's desire. And you're shocked. Like, I don't mean to look like that, but that's how I was talking to myself. That's how I was having those harder conversations with myself. Now, I feel like it should be a different video talking about all the things that have changed over the years. But like I said, not only have I moved, but I've been able to go out more and enjoy where I've moved to. My income has increased, and I make more than I had asked for and was imagining that I could make. And not only that, but it's way more consistent than it was at the beginning. I've made certain shifts career-wise in terms of what I want and what I'm looking for, and that was really difficult because that's something else that kind of just hit me, where it's like, sit down and ask yourself, what do you actually want and why do you want it? There were so many things that I wanted in my life, and when I sat down and thought about it, I was like, this actually doesn't really fit me and the kind of person that I am and I'm trying to morph into. This doesn't fit the grand scheme of my life. And maybe in that moment it did, but right now, no. And I think that's another thing that we have to be really careful with, is the things that we have history with in our lives, we use that history as an excuse to keep doing something or to keep holding on to something, when sometimes things are just in your life for a season. That's it. Sometimes there's things that happen and they unlock a certain aspect of who you are, or unlock a certain aspect of your life, to propel you into a new one, right? For example, my mom has always, and you'll notice an underlying current between everything that you've also done too, right? For example, my mom has always been in a teacher or instructor position, right? Now, the things that she's done has always been different, but she's always been in a line of work that had her showing people, teaching people, telling people how to do something, right? When she was younger, I think even younger than the age I am now, she was a dance teacher, right? And then after that, she was a hairstylist, right? And then after that, she was a hair instructor. So she was teaching people, she was a cosmetologist. So she was teaching people cosmetology, right? And you fast forward to now, my mom is in a position where she is helping other, business leaders. I'm one of those kids where it's like, oh, my mom does something. I know what she does, but my mom has her own thing too. But my point being, every single thing that she did, while on paper it's like vastly different, like how do these things connect? There's always that underlying current of what she does. And I realized, even for me, with everything that I've done in my life, there has been a consistent theme with each thing that I did or each thing that I prioritized. And that made it easier for me to know, well, okay, what is this next area of my life to be working on? What is this next area of my life? Well, like, what's the next chapter, basically? But to be able to recognize those kinds of things, you need to be in tune with yourself. You need to sit down and, like I said, ask yourself these questions. Why do I want what I want? Do I want what I want because it seems like it might be nice because other people have it, right? Do I want what I want because I feel connected to it? It resonates with me. It's something that's lingered in me, lingered in my brain and my heart for years, decades, however long you've been alive, right? Those types of questions, I think, make it a lot easier to kind of unpack and discover, what it is like where you're trying to go. Now for me, I'm a Christian. So of course, my dependencies are always on God. I'm like, you know what, Lord, you lead me. The way that these things need to unfold, let them unfold your way, right? Let them unfold the way that you have in store, because I don't know what's going on, right? I don't know what the heck pack is going on. I don't know what's going to be the best for me or what's not. Like, I don't know that. And that's another thing that I had to learn, was to release stuff. What a lot of people don't realize is they think that, and I'm not saying this like, people think they know. I'm not saying it like that. What I'm saying is, including myself in this mix, we don't really realize what control actually is, right? A lot of people think that control is being the loudest person in the room, the boldest person in the room, insert other things here that would consider a person to be bold. But there is a very, very beautiful control in knowing when to stop doing something, when to let something go, right? One thing that I learned very, very early on is I want to say I used to take martial arts, but I was privately and personally trained by my uncle. If he happens to see this video, thank you, kind sir, in the word of Oblivion NPCs. But I learned that control, truly, and honestly, Bruce Lee he's not really a philosopher, but I look at him as a philosopher, because the way that he spoke and the way that he studied and learned it resonated with me strongly, because that's how I study and learn things. And of course, a lot of people know the quote from him about water, and that's not my favorite quote from him, actually. But he mentions, being like water, and I know some of you may have read, what is her name, Florence Scovel. I could be saying her name wrong, but there's a saying in her book that's called The Game of Life and How to Play It, and she mentions also being like water. Water is able to shape shift and adapt to whatever it is. I could take a heart-shaped jar, I could take a rectangular shaped jar and put water in it, and the water will mold it will fit the shape of anything I put it into. But at the same time, water can be gas, it can be a vapor, right? Water can be frozen solid and become ice. Water is always able to adapt to fit certain things. And that's how I feel like we should be in life. You roll with the punches, right? I guess that's like a platitude or something. That's the same thing that I feel like we could be doing, and how we should, to a certain degree, be living our lives. You can't control every little thing. But to circle back to what I was saying, when I was learning martial arts, I learned control in the instance of, I have a lot of strength, and I get to dictate what percentage of that strength I do or don't want to use, or if I want to use that strength at all, right? Just because I have the ability to fight or to KO someone, right, does not mean that I should. It's all about control. It's all about being able to decipher when to make a move, when not to make a move. If you do make a move, how much of one do you make? How much of one do you not? But again, to be able to even get to that point of thinking about those kinds of things, you need to take the time to discover and unpack who you are, why you are, what you are, how you are. And I've also found that when I've taken the time to ask myself those questions, it's made it significantly easier for me to manifest other things in my life, to say, oh, I want this, I don't want that. And I think a lot of us as well, I won't say that you necessarily need to have experiences or to go through something to know if you want it or not. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but when I say that, I mean physically. Our imaginations and our brains are very powerful, especially your subconscious mind and your ability to be able to see something without seeing it with these. You can see it in here. So and honestly, that I guess that ties in with empathy as well. You don't have to sit there and watch someone get punched in the face to feel bad or to be like, oh, why did that person get hit? Or like, are you okay? Like, you don't need to physically see that to know or experience the emotions and the feelings, right? That's something that's internal, that's intrinsic. So you can close your eyes and picture it in your head and really immerse yourself into the situation, and you can produce the feelings that you would feel if you physically saw it happen in front of you. So again, things that you might be wanting to manifest, or learning what things fit you and what doesn't fit you, use this, right? And we are in Not to go over there, okay? But we are in a time where I feel like our imaginations are getting used less and less and less. We gotta tap back into using the brain, the noggin. Okay? Everything that you need is already present. It's already here. There's nothing that you are lacking. It's present right now. And we are conditioned, especially I feel like in the United States, no offense, okay? I feel like we're very conditioned to always feel like we need more, right? This is a completely different topic, but I noticed one thing that I have overcome. I don't want to say it was a shopping addiction, but I had a severe issue with always buying something. I was very influenced, and I used to make jokes, oh, I've been influenced. No, really, my bank account was showing how influenced I was getting, okay? And I realized I don't need that. And what is it that's making me feel like I need this thing? There's so many things that I've bought, so many things that I've purchased, that I realized I bought this because I painted a picture in my head of what that thing was going to make me feel, what that thing was going to bring me. Whereas I didn't need the thing to feel those emotions or to feel those feelings. I didn't need that. But my main problem was that I was impulsive. I was being very impulsive. And again, it was a lack of control. It was a lack of me sitting down to ask myself, do I really need this? Why do I need this? Now, these days, I have a whole system where I'm like, okay, why do you want this thing? What is it going to do for you? You're actually going to use it. What usages are going to come of this thing? And then I give myself some weeks. I'm like, okay, let's check back in 3 to 6 weeks. If you still want this thing, then sure, get it. But otherwise, let it go. And I can't tell you guys how many things I have let go of. And that doesn't just go for my spending. That goes for my spending. It goes for, some relationship things, because you see somebody cute, you're like, maybe I should, and then you think about it, it's like, no, I shouldn't. Right? But again, that's a totally different video. But just wanting to say that yes, I've been doing a lot of work. Everything I'm saying to you guys is just the tip of the iceberg, and I've been able to manifest financial changes and blessings, romantic blessings, social life in general, and just overall happiness, overall understanding of myself, a closer, more, how do I want to say this? Because I do feel like I've always had a very personal and connected relationship with God, but even that is stronger, right? My understanding of that relationship is stronger. And whether you watch my videos and you are a Christian or not, I like for my channel to be a space where people can insert whatever they need in the blank. So for me, my blank is God. For you, your blank is whatever, divine source or divine power that you serve, and that, resonates with you and where you are in your life right now. But I just like to make it clear for anyone that is curious, or when people ask me, for me, it's God, right? But that is essentially it, I guess. I was not expecting this video to be 18 minutes, but when I get on the camera, I just start yapping. And if you guys have any suggestions or things that you want to know, you can leave it in the comment section and I will answer it. I know I used to do live videos a lot. I have no idea if I even have much of an audience over here still, so if I do, I might go back to doing the lives. I don't know yet. There's no schedule for posting. I post when I got something to say. For those of you that are curious, one of you I think actually did find me on another channel that I had that I launched a few months back, where I was learning Spanish, and I fell off with that too. I had too much going on, but I had that channel, and then I have another one where I talk about my hair, my locks, because my hair is officially locked now, and I talk about books because I'm trying to get back into literature, so that channel is more laid back, and it's just me relaxing, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, shooting some b-ball outside the school when a couple of guys that were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. Okay, I'm sorry. I saw a window of opportunity, and I took it. I took it, and I shouldn't have taken it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. But I'll leave all of those details in the description box for those of you that want to follow me there and want to see what I'm doing unrelated to life-changing things. And yeah. But my main goal that I want to do now, and the reason why the videos are unlisted, is because those videos are they are the next step. They are a secondary step. You know how you can read a book and it has like a prologue and then it has chapter 1? I feel like those videos are chapter 1, but the most important part is the prologue. It's the preface. And that is what I want to focus on more, because all of the changes that have happened in my life the past 2 to 3 years have not been a result of me scripting or saying manifestations or doing any methods. I have not really done any, if I'm being honest with you guys. I have not done any methods, manifestation techniques in years. The only thing I've been doing is praying. Hallelujah. Clock it, right? I've been praying, and from time to time I've written certain things down, but for the most part I've just been making more internal changes. I've been changing my default way about going about things and thinking about things, and that has caused the outside of my life to also change. So working on everything in here has changed everything out here. All right. So a lot of the content now is probably going to be based around my mindset, changing the way that you think, changing the way that you look at things, changing the perspective and narrative that you navigate your life through, which is very powerful. It's very impactful, and it's something that some people live their entire lives never doing. And I know one thing that I used to say to you guys was that, you're always going to be arriving constantly. You are never going to completely just arrive and be done, right? Life is meant to be explored in so many different ways, whether it's, meeting new people, right? There's always new people to meet, whether it's traveling, there's always new countries and new cities and states to learn, new cultures to learn, whether it's a new book, right? Trivial or not, there's always something for you to be exposed to learn and to be open to. And teachability is a really, really underrated trait and quality to have as a person. But anyway, I'm done speaking and yapping and hooting and hollering. And past 2 years, I hope some of you guys' lives have changed. I saw a couple of you comment and tell me that you miss my videos and you've been able to do all of these new things after watching my old videos, and I really, really appreciate that, because that's always what I want. It can come off a bit pretentious, I think, and I guess a bit placating, but life is so short, and there is such a beauty in connecting with people, connecting with others, sharing your thoughts, sharing your interests, learning. There's always something to learn from somebody. Even if you're an expert in whatever you do, there's still something to learn from someone, regardless of who they are, where they're from, what they look like, what they're thinking. And I've always held that philosophy, with that ideology, and I will continue to do so. Can't take it from me. But anyways, I keep saying anyway, I hope you guys have a good morning, night, evening, dusk, dawn, wherever you are, and I will see you whenever the next one is. Bye.